Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because we're going to dig into something literally game-changing. Usually, when we talk about building a student CV or throwing together a portfolio, we treat it like this boring administrative chore, right? Just a checklist to get through. Well, today, we're flipping that completely on its head. We aren't just talking about slapping together a resume, we're talking about launching a high-stakes psychological campaign to craft the ultimate professional identity behind students. We're actually taking the cold, hard science of direct response copywriting and applying it directly to your academic footprint. So, let's get into it. I want you to ask yourself a really honest question right now. Are you just a student or are you a scholar? Copywriters actually call this an ego and fear hook. It targets that completely healthy natural fear we all have of staying stuck, of just blending in with the masses, or worse, remaining totally invisible in the hyper-competitive world of academia and early career recruitment. Because look, if you present yourself merely as a student, you're basically communicating that you're just a passive learner. But a scholar, oh man, that implies real authority. It shows active research and massive potential. The difference in how you're perceived? It's honestly staggering.
And that brings us to another huge psychological rule: transformation. You see, recruiters do not hire CVs. To put it into perspective, the average recruiter spends something like 7 seconds, literally 7 seconds, glancing at a resume before tossing it. They definitely aren't buying into bulleted lists. They're buying into a transformation. Picture the before state. You're frustrated, stuck, staring at a disorganized, raw draft of a biography. It's painful. Then, look at the after state: successful, totally relieved, and armed with a fully automated one-click scholar page. We're aggressively targeting that immediate, incredibly painful problem of having a messy academic record and replacing it with a premium, polished digital presence.
Section 1. Psychology of a High Converter. So how exactly do we take a standard student and transform them into a highly sought-after professional? It turns out the exact same psychological principles used to engineer viral videos and high-converting sales pages apply directly to your public identity. We're totally shifting the focus from just listing what you've done to proving why you are the absolute best investment for a lab or employer. Here's the blueprint. You start with an emotion and logic hook, grabbing them emotionally, then making them feel totally safe to act by using facts. Next, you show the transformation, focusing heavily on the pain of the problem over just the desire for a good outcome. Then comes self-interest, framing your skills around how they actually help the viewer, meaning the employer. You trigger that ego and fear we talked about, and crucially, you back the whole thing up with undeniable social proof. Honestly, this isn't just marketing. This is the literal architecture of a premium professional identity. I absolutely love this concept from our source material on valuing the target. Just listen to this. Address the premium buyer. Do not cheapen the offer. Communicate massive value. When you're out there building your academic profile, your premium buyers are those top-tier research labs, prestigious fellowship committees, and elite employers. If you just hand them a generic, cluttered Word document, you are instantly cheapening your offer. You absolutely must frame your skills, your lab research, and your thesis history as premium assets. You have to communicate massive value before they even get to your very first bullet point.
Section 2. Engineering your scholar identity. Knowing the psychology is one thing, right? But how on earth do you execute this without spending weeks learning web design? Well, the Student CV Builder platform acts as the ultimate tool here. It seamlessly translates all your raw data into a high-converting professional narrative and brilliantly solves that whole friction problem. They have this AI Scholar Copilot set up where you literally just paste a messy draft biography or your raw CV into the Copilot, and boom, it builds everything in one single click. Remember that pain over desire rule we just covered? The pain here is the formatting, the coding, the endless structuring. By automating all of that, the platform provides a massive, low-friction win. You literally go from a disorganized mess to a rock-solid structural foundation instantly. The barrier to entry is just completely eliminated. And once your initial text is loaded in, the auto-structuring follows a really deliberate, highly systematic sequence to build up your authority. Step 1 is the Identity and Crest Customizer. This establishes your visual brand right out of the gate. Step 2 integrates your lab research and thesis history, which provides the logical, factual justification of your experience. And finally, Step 3 layers on your publications and preprints to build those crucial academic citations. Every single step here is deliberately designed to stack value, turning what would normally be just a boring timeline into a deeply compelling narrative of scholarly achievement. Now, what's really interesting here is the hyper-specificity. Rule 9 of our conversion engine states you should never use generic advice or buzzwords. You've got to use concrete details. And Student CV Builder gives you incredibly concrete aesthetic tools to shape exactly how you are perceived. Look at these monogram crest logo styles for a second. You can choose a traditional shield for that classic, old-school academic feel, a scientific helix node if you're deep into STEM, or a super clean minimalist double ring. And the layouts? No way, these are so cool. You can wrap your entire profile in a modern glass grid, a classic ivory latex preprint look, or even a dark cyber laboratory theme. You aren't just picking colors, you are actively engineering the exact vibe your premium buyer is searching for.
Section 3, Social Proof and Mastery. So, having a slick design, a cool helix crest, and a dark cyber layout is awesome, but it's not enough on its own. If we loop back to our psychological principles, we know we have to back up this polished visual identity with solid logical justification. We need hard, tangible evidence that other people recognize your value. And that brings us to course mastery badges. This is such a fascinating feature. Instead of just dumping a GPA or a really boring transcript of classes onto the screen, the platform lets you add specific badges for complex courses where you scored highly. We are literally redefining standard academic grades here. They're no longer just numbers on a page. They become strategic pieces of social proof. Visual indicators specifically designed to communicate undeniable mastery in highly specific, incredibly difficult subjects. The contrast we see here is just undeniable. Think about it. Without badges, your specific hard-fought academic victories are totally invisible. You have absolutely no verifiable proof of the incredibly complex concepts you've mastered sitting there on your public page. But with badges, wow. You instantly highlight the complexity of your knowledge, you make your mastery visually prominent, and you establish instant, undeniable authority. It fulfills that direct response rule perfectly, right? You are providing the logical proof so your buyer feels completely and utterly safe investing their time and eventually their money in you.
Section 4, the irresistible student offer.
So the crucial point is that your entire academic footprint essentially becomes a pitch, an absolutely irresistible offer to the academic and professional world. Everything we've just talked about, the AI-generated biography, the custom helix or shield crests, those killer dark cyber layouts, the lab histories, the publications, and those super important course mastery badges, it all gets centralized right here. You generate a custom URL slug. It's basically your own dedicated piece of premium digital real estate. It makes your entire scholar identity portfolio highly searchable, completely public, and just incredibly easy to share. You have literally packaged the whole shebang, your entire professional identity, into one perfectly optimized destination.
And this aligns perfectly with the final rule of the high conversion script engine. It says, ensure the final step is a massive, low-friction, high-value win that leaves no room for hesitation. By handing over a single, clean URL that looks absolutely stunning and is completely packed with social proof and structured data, you remove literally all the friction for a recruiter or lab director. There's no downloading clunky PDFs, no parsing through badly formatted walls of text. It's a high-value win for them to review it, which means there is absolutely zero hesitation in moving your name right to the top of the pile. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final kind of hard-hitting question. Really take a look at how you are currently presenting yourself to the world right now. Is your academic footprint a truly irresistible offer that communicates massive value to premium buyers? Or is it just a raw, invisible draft gathering digital dust? Because engineering your professional identity, it's a psychological game. And with the right structure, it is for sure a game you can easily win. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I highly, highly recommend you take some time right after this to completely rethink your own scholar profile. See you next time.